Good morning, Leadworks engineers. Today we have another exciting episode of Weekend Workshop for you, where we talk about the progress on Leadworks Game Engine 5 and other technologies and software products and such. So here's a nice screenshot of something I'm working on. I'll get to that in a second. Okay, so updates. Here's what happened last week. The biggest change was we're defaulting to DXT5 compression for everything that the editor, for all the textures. Anywhere in the editor where it converts an image, an uncompressed image, into a compressed texture, it's going to default to DXT5 now. You can change this if you go into Tools, Options, and then under Material Generation. There's an option to change this to BC7. But I think I'm going to change it to... I think DXT5 is going to be the best choice. It's not the best quality, but it's the best choice. And this is kind of, this is a good analogy for where graphics are right now. So BC7 compression, DXT5 texture compression, it can have visual artifacts, especially where you have areas of with very gentle gradients. And if you ever see, like, in a lot of games, you'll see like some kind of blocky green kind of pixels in a texture. That's DXT compression. It tends to make things look blocky and green sometimes, not all the times. Most of the time it's probably fine, but sometimes it doesn't do it very well. BC7 fixes that problem, and it virtually eliminates all visible compression artifacts in almost all situations. The problem is that BC7 compression is extraordinarily slow. Visual Studio, the IDE, it supports, you can open images and DDS files in Visual Studio, and you can compress into BC7 and other formats and save a DDS file. And when you do that, a 4096 by 4096 image will probably take about 20 minutes to compress with BC7 compression format in Visual Studio. Now, I used a special library that uses a special compiler from Intel, and I got that down to a few seconds. So ours is literally like 1,000, probably 100 or 1,000 times faster than anything else I've ever seen. However, it still takes a few seconds, whereas DXT5 compression takes very little time. So when you're converting large folders of a lot of images, BC7 compression can be significantly slower than DXT5. And BC7, it's higher quality, but most people probably aren't going to care. So it's kind of like, well, what it does is it's like, well, we solved this problem you didn't know you had. And it's basically an engineering miracle that it works as fast as it does, even though it's slower than what you were used to before. For most people, I think they're just going to be happy with DXT5, and most people aren't going to understand or care about the difference between that and BC7. To me, it's a big deal, but I think most people won't really care. They'll just see that well, this is slower than what I had before. Even though it's like significantly higher quality, even though the technology that makes it run as fast as it does is like really incredible, the end result is just, in other words, I guess it's the benefit is very marginal for the increased cost. And that's kind of a good analogy of everything where graphics are at right now. It's just we can increase the quality a little bit, but it's not really worth it. Like the cost that it's worth it. Ray tracing is like that. Basically like almost every new technique that I can think of. It's like Yeah, it makes it a little bit better, but the end user isn't really going to care that much. That kind of seems like that's where things are at right now, in a lot of ways. So DXT5 compression. Anyways, that's my long-winded explanation. DXT5 compression is now the default compression format, and you can change that if you want to, but you need to opt in to BC7 compression. For our project, we're going to be using that, but most people just aren't going to. DXT5 will be fine for them, and they're not going to care about anything else. And they just want it to work quick. They just want the workflow to be fast. So that's fine. I fixed 9 bugs. That's all I got to say about that. I ordered the USB drives for the people who are receiving USB drives, and I splurged a little bit on them because I was so happy with the results of the game tournament. So I think you're going to get something very nice, as well as your mystery bonus item, which you'll find out when you receive it. It's just a small little extra thing. So I'll ship the stickers out next week, because those can all go right now, and then the USB drives will be here in a couple of weeks. And I think in the future I'll have like a stash of these pre-ordered. It was kind of difficult this time because I didn't really know what to expect. We had 10 people entered the tournament, and like 5 or 6 of them are repeat offenders, returning champions. Yeah, that's a better description. So now in the future, I think I'll just have a stash of these, and I need to find out. I need to think of some more prizes too. I have some ideas, but we'll talk about that when the summer game tournament appears. I want to get some DLCs up. I want some new DLCs. We got this new engine. We got Leadworks 5. The Leadworks 4, it had a lot of DLCs, and they sold really well. Like for any given DLC, probably about a third of people who bought the engine own the DLC. So they sell, like DLCs sell like hotcakes. I wasn't completely happy with the quality and the cohesion of the content, but they sold really well. So with Leadworks 5, I want to have some really high quality DLCs for you. It sounds like FPS weapons, like hand models, like view models. It sounds like that's the thing that people want the most. I've also got this lovely pine forest in the works for you. And I might do I'm doing some moon stuff, and I might turn this into a DLC. If I make like a really nice lunar surface with, probably make like a few different versions and use like real height data from the real, like NASA data from the moon for the height map, and make a few landscapes like that. I think that might make a nice, that might be a good DLC too. For some of these, I have to pay a licensing fee to be able to sell it to you. And for some of them, I need to, like for the FPS weapons, I need to do a lot of work to get them to export correctly. I'll need to do a Kickstarter. I'll need to do a Kickstarter campaign for some of these, and that will help me cover the costs that I have to pay for licensing, and um, it'll also give me an indication of like what things people like the most. So I've got some first-person shooter weapons from the same artist that made the one model that you have that comes with the engine. Um, I'm thinking that'll cost about $30, and it'll come with like probably about 8 weapons, maybe more. As well as some other, like there's some other stuff like the hands holding a flashlight, and I think there's a syringe that you can like use that to like give yourself health. They do this in the Left 4 Dead. Um, that's what I'm thinking. So let me ask you guys. Oh, is that something you are interested in?
interested because first person shooter hands are hard to come by.
Yeah, they are.
They're really annoying to set up too.
DXT5 is significantly better than DXT1. DXT1
Yeah.
is crazy. The compression is just crazy. It compresses it down to like 12.5% of the original side, whereas like DXT5 and BC7 both compress it down to 25%. But DXT5
Yeah.
should be significantly better than DXT1.
Well,
DXT1
this
is
would.
like so blocky.
Yeah. Well, this is what Levix one, five, four rather, and I don't know why. I think I just did it just to make lower system requirements or whatever.
It'll be
But
great
I
for
think
performance, yeah.
yeah, but I think I did it. I think I made that option because I didn't like the greenification.
The greenification.
Yeah, that's what I call it.
Word of the
Made
year
everything
2026. Already got it. Greenification.
made it green.
A can of duster. You're gonna need more than a can. You're gonna need more than one can.
No, it's actually like a little like blower thing that you plug into the wall or you plug into a USB port, and and it's just like a reverse vacuum.
Well, he says a can of duster. He's not saying a reverse vacuum. He's saying like a
Oh, Records was talking about the anti-static.
oh, get an
Um,
anti-static reverse vacuum blower. Best investment I've ever made. Works better than duster, can't you? Huh. That's interesting. I've never heard of those. I'll have to check that
yeah,
out.
I'm
Crazy
probably
good.
I'm probably gonna buy one myself.
35. So that means they're like 90 now.
No, like
No, no, actually I looked. There was only one that was 90 and the rest were around 35 or 30.
They haven't gotten bought up yet. Okay. So
you
it's
can't
a
run
vacuum,
AI
so
on it.
it like pulls the dust out of your components.
No, it's actually they were originally called reverse vacuums. Now they just call them blowers.
Oh, okay.
It actually spits out the air, but it makes sure it's anti-static, unlike a vacuum. Um,
So the air is like charged particles or something.
no, no, it's just
What do you
not.
mean?
It's just
Oh,
not going to cause
anti-static.
static
So it does.
shock.
How does it like to prevent like static discharge on your components?
Yeah, because it's specifically for PCs and stuff. Like I used them in repair shops all the time.
I wasn't aware that there was a issue of air. How is it anti-static?
Because it's
Because the
plastic.
components inside don't like regular vacuums will
Oh,
generate
like
static because
if you touch it with the nozzle, you mean?
yeah,
Oh, okay. I was like,
stuff like well, not just that. Like I mean, yeah, pretty much.
okay,
But they just do it. They're just safer.
okay, that makes more sense. I was like, I thought the
Works
air was
better
like, oh,
than.
this is anti-static air. Are you using anti-static air? I started to get worried. I'm just using normal air. Um,
I inhale that straight.
all right. Lots of air really fast. I like hands. Everybody likes hands. I'm also interested. Yeah, it sounds like that's the thing that everybody needs. There'll be things like a rocket launcher and like a or like a grenade launcher. I'm not sure if there's a bazooka and like a sniper rifle. And there's animations for things like iron sights and stuff. But I don't know like uh, what I'm considering right now is just the models. Like it's not going to be you have to code them to do what you want, but they're just models that they'll be aligned and scaled correctly so that when you put them in the game they'll show up correctly. But like if you want a sniper like an actual like view through the sniper scope, you'll have to program that. Or if you want the grenade launcher to shoot a grenade, you'll have to program that. I don't plan on. I'm just going after like quality of the models. I don't plan on including like sounds and stuff. So they're not like ready to. They're not finished, ready to use gameplay items. Um, that's what I'm thinking right now. What do you think about that? Do you just want the
I some
models, or do you expect it to be like? Is it more like first person FPS? Is it more like a TGC product where like you expect it to be programmed already.
Like a what is it called? Pre-model or whatever, or I forget what that's called. But
Pretty much
basically,
like
like a whole object you can just put in.
Well, that's kind of how they were in LEDWorks 4, but I also didn't go very we didn't go very far. So what I'm saying is like there's more animations in there than behavior that there's animations in there that the default first person shooter weapon script does not support.
Yeah,
Are you okay with that, or is that disappointing to you?
I'd be okay with that. It's kind of like free models and stuff. Uh, I mean, if they sort of like if it was really easy to get him work out of the box with the default controller, that's probably fine in my book.
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean
like the
Like if
they'll
it's
just
easy to
have
connect to the
the
animations you care about.
yeah, it'll just have like they'll be set up to work, but they'll just shoot a bullet like like the current one does. They won't do anything any more than that, even though there's other animations, and I'll include those. But it's easier for me to focus on just like getting the models out because it would take a long time. It would take a really long time to. I mean, I would have to revamp like the whole to do everything. I would have to revamp the whole like first person shooter script, and um, that's not really something that I want to. I don't want to spend a month programming weapons.
I think that'd be a poor use of your time.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to ask because it's like, hmm, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm still not sure who the user is for LEDWorks. If it's more like are the users more like do they are the users more like beginners and this is their first game and they want everything done like like basically like what I would expect like the game creators type customers to be, or are they more just like um or they are they more experienced? That's an interesting question. I don't think anybody knows right now, but
You should poll and see if people would rather have something like UEFN, like the Fortnite thing, where they have tons of pre-made objects that you modify, or if people just want models and do it themselves.
well, nobody answers polls.
Ah, true.
Case in point, this is a question about we talked about, and also the people who answer polls are not representative of the majority. Like you guys aren't even represented. I mean, you guys are like less than 1% of the of users. It's really that's why like um, companies like video game companies they'll make decisions sometimes that are unpopular among their quote unquote their true fans, but they're making that decision based on they're usually making those decisions based on like the behavior they see, and because like it's a really weird phenomenon, but the people who actually participate are not representative of the general population. I don't know why, but it's just it's like that. Anyways, spider no monkey frog, spider monkey frog, spider monkey frog pig. Um, he asked about we talked a couple weeks ago about the idea that prefab sub objects should be locked in place. In other words, their orientation should always be loaded from the original prefab file, and that way, if you move the object in the original prefab file, when you load the map that uses that prefab, the object will be moved. Right now, it does not work that way. And the way I phrased this question, it makes it sound like I'm adding a restriction or I'm taking something away. And I kind of did that intentionally because I figured if I phrased that would sort of steer things in the direction where more people would vote against this change. And I figured if I phrased it that way, and then people still overrode that vote like strongly, um, then there would be very strong support for it. Right now, like based on these results, it doesn't seem like many people have a very strong opinion at all. Because only like 10 people, less than 10 people even responded to it, and it's kind of 50-50. I could have phrased this differently. I could have phrased this like, uh, should should prefabs gain the ability to reload their orientation from the original file always, should they have persistent orientations from loaded from the original file? If I had worded it that way, I would have gotten a little bit different result. But based on these results, I don't really have a strong indication. I kind of agree with him because he's talking about he creates prefabs and then he places them in the scene, and then he goes back and edits his prefabs, and he wants his sub objects in that prefab to be reloaded from the original prefab. So if I do that, and we're not talking about the prefab object itself, we're talking about any sub objects within that prefab. So if I make that change, you won't be able to select a sub object in a prefab object and move it. It'll just be locked in place relative to the parent. But you can like right click on it and convert it away from a prefab into just a regular object, and then you can move it, any sub objects you need. So like if you have like a door or something, and there's like a door frame is the parent, and then the door is the child, and you have this one door and you want it to be open, you want it to start open, you can just unlink it from the prefab and change that child object's orientation. That seems like overall that's going to be the best. I think that would probably be the best design. I think that would save the greatest. That would be the most optimized design to save the most time overall. What do you guys think? You've had some time to think about it now.
I think the hierarchy should just load from the file always, like its position and the hierarchy tree. This way you don't have to worry about like missing nodes or anything. But I really do want flexibility of just being able to change a parameter in a script without having to break the prefab.
So you want it to be a prefab, but you don't want it to be a prefab?
No, I want it to be a prefab in how it's structured. But if I want to make something blue or something, or like you say, door set open, I should just be able just to tick that open. And then if I have to change my door 3 months down the line, I don't have to go back and update that one door.
So you want it to be a prefab, but you don't want it to be a prefab?
I want it to be an instance like in Source.
We have the ability to break the prefab right now. So do you want it to be a prefab, or do you want it to not be? That data has to be loaded from somewhere. So like you have to make a choice.
Right. No. Okay.
This is the thread, prefab not working as expected. So here he's like, let's see. So he creates this prefab like this, and then he places a few instances of it like this. And then he opens the prefab file and he moves the child object here. He moves that. And then he opens the map again, and the child object is not moved, even though it was moved in the prefab file. So in other words, should this orientation be stored in the scene, or should it be stored in the prefab file? One or the other. It can't be both.
It should be stored in the prefab file, because if you update something in the prefab file, and if you change it, you kind of want, like it's like it's like I want that from instances from Source, where if you just change one file, it changes everything.
Like
But
a
I do
butterfly
want
effect.
yeah. But I do wish there was a little bit more flexibility with the inputs and outputs and key values. I understand your point that you can't have both, but um, I'd rather have I'd rather have the map just load the prefab file every time and not modify any, not have to worry about, oh, well, I moved this limb here. I expect it to just load the same how it is from the prefab file.
Okay. Garlic waffle, and is that garlic waffle? I can't. I think it's him. I think I recognize. It just says G. Yeah. Uh, G, and I think this is wreckage. I'm in streamer mode. I'm a streamer, guys. Um, okay, it sounds like they agree. I think we all kind of the garlic. Yeah. Um, yeah. Okay. I think that's probably what I'll do. So I just have to add some logic to in the editor to handle that. So I'll probably get that done next week. Okay. And if anybody disagrees, then feel free to let me know. But it sounds like that's probably the way to go. I've got some screenshots of some stuff I made. Nice lunar landscape. The exposure is, well, I mean, if this surface was this bright, then these stars would not be appearing because they're too dim. So that looks kind of unrealistic. But that can be, I haven't done it like a comparison of this to a photo. So I'd also like to find out, like, what do you actually see if you're on the surface of the moon? Do you actually see stars, or is it just, or are they too dark only in photos, or can you actually see them when you're seeing that when you're there in person?
I believe that you can't actually see them when you're in space around the moon. I believe astronauts have said that it just looks black,
Okay.
but that's not good for a video game.
Why wouldn't you be able to see the stars?
I have no idea. I
Because the
didn't look that
surface of
deep
the
into
moon
it.
is so bright that your irises, it makes you, it's like, for the same reason you can't see stars on the surface of Earth. Like, they're there, but like everything else is so bright you just can't see them.
I thought that's because of light pollution.
Well, that's what you're looking at. Like, the light pollution on the moon is like crazy, crazy bright. It's super, super bright because there's no atmosphere. It's just the sun bouncing right off that rock. Maybe if you looked straight up, um, and you didn't have any surface of the moon in your field of view, then you might be able to. Then you might see the stars. But as soon as you have, like, the moon is like so bright that it'll cause your irises to constrict. And same thing with like a photo, which is even a more compressed color range.
Yo, you're right. This is crazy. I just looked up pictures and there are no stars in them. What's up with that?
Well, if they could like develop the photo so that the stars were visible, but then the surface of the moon would just be like completely white. Like, they have to darken the visible range just to not have it over brightened.
That is pretty cool. I didn't know that.
Yep. Yeah, that's the stupid. I've seen like some people saying like,
Oh, no, I'm wrong. They are visible from the moon's surface, just not on camera.
oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
According to an AI summary.
Oh,
So
okay,
take it with
so
a grain of salt.
50-50 chance. All right. Yeah, sometimes like you'll see somebody saying like, I don't know if this is like bots or if it's even people or what, but you'll see somebody saying like, look, there's no stars on that photo of the moon, That means that NASA is lying. It's like,
Well, people think
dumbass.
the Earth is flat, so
No, they don't.
uh,
I don't. I don't
yes, they
think
do.
anybody. I don't think anybody really believes that.
Hey,
I
that's
believe
not
that.
true. I actually just was in an argument with somebody who's a flat earther, and they were telling me all this stuff is nonsense. That they literally do believe it.
They believe what?
That the Earth is flat.
Earth.
Where's the curve? I don't see no curve. My shoes aren't curved.
You say that unironically, but they actually do try to make that argument.
I'm saying it ironically.
I was
I
saying
know.
that ironically too.
All of this is irony now.
It's like rain on your wedding day.
Please don't quote Alanis Morissette.
It's like 10,000. It's like 10,000. It's like 10,000 spoons when all you need is a spork. All right. Moving right along. Is Vega here? The user formerly known as Vega.
Don't see him in the chat.
Okay. Vega, I'm curious. We fixed your collision bug that you cleverly figured out last week. And this is why we were falling through the floor, I think, like a year ago. Only in one. It's something that didn't come up very often. So it was very hard to reproduce, and he was clever enough to find an easy way to reproduce it. But he says that this object is giving him trouble. I would like to see this map, please. Because I tried to reproduce it with this, and it works fine. So I would, if you have another scene that I can test, please upload that for me, and I will test it. And if there is a problem, I will get it fixed.
One thing I would suggest for brushes manipulated in the vertex mode, it'd be really cool if we could just reposition the origin of the brush.
Let me see.
Maybe that'll actually help cut down on these issues, because that looks like that's the cause of it. Also, it's really, really terrible as a mapper, because the brushes can be all the way on one side of the map, but the origin can be all on the other side.
How often does that really? I mean, whenever I'm using vertices, like literally all I'm doing is I'm just moving like the corner of something a little bit.
It's in our demo, in our like art showcase map.
Mm-hmm.
If you take a look, because I did the skirt around the map there, and I did a lot
Okay.
of copy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think it should just maybe it should just automatically recenter whenever you modify the vertices? It should just move the origin of the brush and automatically recenter it.
That too. I think that would be a better experience.
I'm always in favor of things that
Automatically happen.
well, I mean things that have like a less complex user interface.
No, it should just automatically just recenter to this. The origin should always be the center of the brush.
That kind of feels right to me. Well, I can think of some reason. No, actually, I can think of some reasons I wouldn't want that. Like if I was making an arm that was like, and I wanted it to rotate around its pivot, then I would want to have control over that.
Oh, like a door. Okay.
I was thinking like I don't know if I just had like an arm. You know those like. You know those things that. Yeah, I'm really stumbling over my words today. Those test machines for astronauts where they spin you around in a circle. It's like a carnival ride.
Yeah.
Like if you were making like the arm for one of those or something that spun around that rotated like that, you would want to have control over where the pivot is. I don't know. Let's put that in the category of things that we're thinking of a solution for.
Right, because it just seems like that's looks like the root cause of.
No, that's not the cause of anything. That's, I mean, it's if it's happening. Well, the first issue it was a there was a bug in the physics library, and
Right.
Julio was nice enough to fix that once I identified it. Um, he says that there's still a problem, but I haven't been able to reproduce it like from his description. So I would like
Hmm.
to see the scene.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah, stay on the grid. That's good advice. Apply transforms in Blender.
That's more of a modeling tip, but
Yeah, I guess it is. I forgot though.
Is that something you have to do for like animated?
I do it
models?
all the time. You have to, if you have to like apply your scale and transform, or else it'll come in a little bit too big or too small. So
Why should you have to do that?
because you
Should
may take a box that's 2 meters and you can scale it, but it'll look 2 meters, but in local space it might be scaled differently.
so you're resetting the transformation.
Yes.
That should
If you
just
don't do
work.
it, it messes things up.
It should just work.
I know, it should just work. Luckily, I would never make a mistake like that.
We'll be getting a lot of. I sent out a batch of keys for containment breach, so there'll be a lot of people showing up on Discord today. Okay. Let's see. Do we have anything else going on? I think that's all I have to talk about this week. Do you have any questions? Yeah, so DLCs. I plan on some DLCs coming. It sounds like weapons are in high demand. Um, and then and yeah, I'm just gonna. My goal is to fix every bug that can be fixed. Um, before I start working on 5.1, because that's once I do that, like there's not going to really be any updates for a couple months or however long it takes. Um, so I just want to give you guys the most stable build possible before I go into that. So we've got a few more. We've probably got like a dozen, maybe not even that, maybe like 8 or 10 more items, and then to fit that can be fixed, and then I'll go into development of 5.1. Josh, what do you think about the sound prefab? What is the sound prefab? There's a sound script that you can attach to any entity, and that will make it emit a sound. And you can make the sound looping, or you can have it so that it's something that gets triggered.
Speaking of the moon, cool profile picture.
Who? What?
On XRT, the moon profile.
Oh. Oh, it is the moon.
Moon.
He's typing something. Okay, he's going to get an example. I'm going to get some coffee.
Good modeling tip. Include the executable in your submissions.
Oh, you forgot to submit your executable in the game tournament.
Yeah.
It's optional. I don't know, 'cause that breaks our, that kind of breaks our design, like that. Yeah, people always just they want to add a button for this and a button for that. Why sound in particular? Like, why not? So, I mean, I could do that. It would place a pivot with a sound added to it. Uh, but why that in particular? Why not a pivot with a player script attached to it? Why not a pivot with some other script attached to it? Like, these are all different types of objects, right? And the sound, what you're describing would just be the pivot with one
sound scripts, okay.
specific script already attached to it. Why not do that for every single script?
Didn't the original Hammer editor have just a sound object like that? That was just
Well,
a pivot with a sound on it?
every entity in Source is just an entity, so it only does one thing. So it's a little different than what LevX is. LevX is you get an entity, you attach a script to it, while Source is, you make a class, you tell it what model it is or what it is.
Yeah,
and
it's
then
kind
you
of
play-
like more hard coded,
yeah.
less expandable. The only argument I could say would be like in favor of what he's saying is like, well, maybe like that sound thing is used so frequently that it justifies having, putting it right here. But at the same time, like, what other items in the future? I can think of something to go right there. What other items in the future are we going to add that are going to fill this up?
Well, maybe this is something that you wouldn't add, but it would be nice to have like user defined objects that they're
Yeah.
always gonna place.
That's another.
So
That's another option. Yeah.
So this way, if they need like, oh, I always place this entity, I want my player start to just be something I just place in the world, or
Yeah.
I want.
We're probably going to want that for, to customize the editor for the SCP game too.
Yeah, so I think
That kind of makes sense.
I think having the option to let the user fill in what their needs, I think it's a great choice, and it doesn't like interrupt your philosophy of design.
Yeah. And that way, if it turns out to be a bad idea, then we're not like stuck with it. What if you like made a system kind of like making the custom tool? Yeah, basically that's what he's saying. Like just add a script command that allows you to add something like that. That would be possible, probably.
It would just be called like my entities, since we went to the entities name. It would just be called my entities, and then you just place it like an entity.
Yes, everyone can add an extra button they want. Yeah, I think last week somebody asked on the forum. They were saying like, the script editor, it's not updating. Can I have a button that will update all the entity definitions? Well, there's a when you save a script file, like under some circumstance, I don't know what it is. I'm trying to get more information. Like it's not updating the entity definitions file. Well, I mean, it's easier for me to just like fix that bug than it is for me to add another button.
Well, right. I think one thing that could be fixed is that the editor doesn't keep track of orphaned definition files. So if you create an entity or entity script, and then you decide this is garbage, I don't want it, and you delete that script, the editor will still keep the entity definition file.
There are reasons to keep that around though.
No, absolutely. But I think someone can just make an extension that says clean orphaned entities or
That's
script objects.
I mean, you can spend all your time trying to come up with creative ideas to avoid work, or you can just do the thing that you're trying to avoid. I mean, seriously, like how many hours of all the users in the world, how many hours do you think per year cumulatively are wasted due to this having to delete a JSON file?
Mm.
Like probably not very many. Maybe have an update, change the icon, and so you can change it to something to pivot. Anyways, yeah. Okay. Any other questions before we go?
Wait, so you said there's no winners in the contest, but
There's
what was the
there's
best?
a lot of women. There's 10 winners.
Okay, everybody's a winner, but like, I gotta ask, the best project, what would you say it was?
They were all the best
Oh, come on.
because they were
All
all
right.
made with love.
You know what I'm gonna say? The best one was Use. That ingenuity thing was fantastic.
It was very good.
I agree. That robot was awesome on the Mars one. My robot had the spinning treads. I like that. It took me so long.
How?
It
Oh, I
was
wanted to
really
ask. Like, how did you? Is that an animation that you just like, or how was it done?
Oh yeah, it was just animation where it moves like one tick and then loops, so it doesn't actually animate all the way around.
Oh, that's interesting. So, and then you just play the animation according to the ground speed.
Yep.
Cool.
it was fantastic. Like, I actually really enjoyed it. It was actually like, not bashing anybody else. They all did a good job. Sadly, I didn't get to submit myself, but the Mars one though was really really good.
I agree. I love the Mars one.
I have to ask, what did you think of Snowball VR? Because the video got cut off near the end.
It was fun. I like
Okay.
the music and the sound effects actually like made it a lot more exciting.
Yeah.
And then everything's just automatically fun in VR. Just like simple things are just fun because it's totally different. It reminded me of the Nvidia VR Funhouse games because they had a couple of things like that. And there was one point like the video. Oh, I also noticed like the display of the VR view. It is really hard to see when it's only showing the left eye.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's what I told you.
Yeah. So I'll probably actually like based on that I'll probably change how that is. I'll probably just like having both views side by side would be better. What would be best is to have a camera mounted right on your head that's rendering another copy of the display with a normal perspective view, but I wouldn't want that to be the default behavior because it would be significantly slower. But there was one
Right.
funny like when I just saw the one in the middle at first, the target in the middle.
Mhm.
And then I noticed the ones on the side, and I noticed the one on the left, and I started throwing it at that because I got a higher score. And then I saw the one that was off in the distance to the right that was 100 points.
Mhm.
And the very first one that I tried to throw at it, it just went directly into the center.
Nice.
Yeah. And then I also thought the
Mhm.
scene, I just like after I played the game for a little bit, I just stopped and I looked at the building around me and stuff, and I thought it looked very good.
Yeah, that was kind of like the thing. I wanted to do like a terrain and everything because I thought that would be way easier. But but because of problems I was having, I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna just do a simple box room area.
Were the building? Yeah, I was just looking at like the wall with the brick, and it just like looked really good. Is that all coming from the free materials?
Yes, I just pulled I just pulled whatever was in the download section. Assets we made for the first-person shooter template when we were trying to figure out what we were doing. Those are where
Oh,
the
okay.
windows are from.
Were those
So I just
2048 resolution?
actually so they were actually just 1024 by 1024, but the bricks were too big, so they didn't look right. So I had to scale them down in the face editing tool. So that's why they look really good. Everything is 1024, just to
Oh, they're just repeating at a higher frequency.
yeah. So
Okay. So effectively, it's like 800
mhm.
pixels per centimeter or whatever, or not 800, 800 pixels per meter. So
Right. So
like
it's a
8 pixels per
1024
centimeter.
texture. Yeah. So it's 1024 texture, but I scaled it by half on the brush face.
Yeah.
So the only thing I noticed is that decals tank performance in VR. I was gonna do like a particle effect and all this, but just the decal alone kind of slows everything down. So I just yeah. And I noticed that on my 40.
How much area was it covering?
Not that big. It's like the same size. I just took the bullet code. So it's as big as that, and I just recycle. I recycled a lot of things because I just wanted to get it done fast as possible. So I recycled a
that's
lot
smart.
of code, and I just and whatever that size is, it is. If you needed the project for testing, I could send it to you, but yeah, but every time, but it's more notice if you drop the snowball in front of you, you get a lag spike, and you can't disable decals on the controllers for some reason. I tried.
Okay. Yeah, I think from what I've seen, I think the deferred renderer approach in 5.1, I think that will be faster for decals. I think it'll be significantly faster, but still have to do it before. I still have to try it and before I can know for sure which
No,
approach is better.
absolutely. But what about deferred rendering for VR? Do you think that would be better for VR? Because I remember reading or hearing that deferred rendering is not great for VR.
Well, it's a question of it depends on the hardware, and it's a question of memory bandwidth versus uh, pixel shader pipeline. So it's hard to say. It really depends on the situation. I suspect that in most situations, at least the way the engine is being used by most people and the way we're using it, I suspect that deferred will probably be more optimal because it's like so the forward clustered plus renderer, it has an advantage in that it doesn't have to render to a big G buffer, but the moment you add any post processing effects or the moment you add anti-aliasing, uh, well, in some situations, well, okay, so like it doesn't have to render to a G buffer, but a lot of post processing effects require a G buffer, like screen space ambient occlusion. And then there's also the problem with the clustered forward plus renderer is the shaders are more complex, so it's gonna be it's that's gonna be better for newer cards in and of itself. Um, it's going to be a disadvantage on really old hardware in and of itself. But it's like you have these competing factors, so it's really hard to say like one is. It really depends on the situation.
Well, we want to favor old hardware just for standard flat panel games. And I think that people who are doing VR are going to have higher end systems anyway. So I still think deferred render is still the way to go because more people.
I think the issue with the clustered forward plus render, I think the big issue is the shader storage reads are not free.
Right.
And you have to do a lot of them, and the bounding for the light volumes and for decal volumes is not very precise, so you have a lot of false positives. In other words, you have when you calculate the volume intersection of like what cells it intersects, you have a lot of pixels that aren't actually affected by the light, but that's not free because you still have to retrieve that light's data from the shader storage buffer. And that lookup is dependent on the results of another shader storage lookup that are performed in the shader. So let me explain with like texture lookups. One thing I discovered is that if you in our shadow map, okay, so in our shadow map code, it performs like a 3x3 grid. It doesn't just take one shadow sample. It does like a 3x3 grid of shadow samples to get the result, to get the whether the object, and it like averages those, and that's the result. That's your shadow lookup. That's how it tells whether something's in a shadow or not. If you code that to where you have predefined offsets, and it like in other words, you just have it like 9 lines of code that each do a texture lookup that start with one texture coordinate and then just add like a vec2 value to it to offset it by a little bit. If you do that, it's fast. If you use if you use 2 for loops for x and y, and you calculate the texture coordinate that you're going to use for that shadow lookup, it's extremely slow. The reason for that is because GPUs don't execute texture lookups when you tell them to in the code. They execute them as soon as they have the information to. So for that reason, it's a lot like if you have a lookup that is dependent on the results of another lookup, that can be very slow because the shader pipeline, it has to stall and then retrieve the results from that hardware. Another good example would be parallax mapping. Parallax occlusion mapping, or parallax mapping, is disproportionately slow. You're not just doing another texture lookup. It's disproportionately slow because your texture coordinates change as a result of based on the results of a texture lookup that you perform. So the first texture lookup is very fast because the shader probably performs it before that pixel invocation even starts, because it knows what the texture, because it's getting the texture coordinate from the as a uniform, or as a varying from the vertex shader. So it performs that like ahead of time. But if you have a texture lookup that is dependent, where the texture coordinates are dependent on the results of another texture lookup, that creates a stall in the hardware, something like that. I don't know what I'm sure a hardware engineer could explain that better. So that seems to be the primary problem with Clustered Forward Plus, I suspect. I'm not sure. I'm like id Software. I mean, it's not just, this isn't just something that I dreamed up. Like id Software uses this. One of the Rainbow Six games use this. Call of Duty. So it is a viable method. But at the same time, the stuff that id Software does is not really comparable to what we do. They're not making a general purpose game engine that they have a lot of control over the exact circumstances and the hardware that they want that to run on. So my overall feeling is Deferred will probably turn out to be the more optimal choice. But I don't know for sure. So I'm like, yeah, it's I just need to do it and see what the results are.
Okay.
Hopefully that makes some sense.
No, I just wanted to know.
So if I get a permanent Leadworks tattoo on my forehead, what do I get for that, other than lifelong regrets?
The admiration of all you meet in your daily life.
What? I don't even get a sticker pack.
The admiration and respect.
Why do you need a sticker? You got the tattoo already.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I want to
It's
put
like
the
a
stickers
it's like a
all
sticker
over
that
town.
never wears out.
That was a good. It was a good chat, Jan. I'm listening to all this. I'm just sitting here giggling. Oh man.
Yeah, I didn't understand much of that, but I defer to you on that decision. Thank you.
I caught that. All right. So moving forward. All right. Thank you all for joining.
Yep.
Have a good weekend.
Peace.
And as always, remember.
I love breaking you, Josh. It's fun.
All right. Always keep developing.
Mm.